Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Double Take podcast. I'm Andrew Malinis.
And I'm Alex Malinis, and we are the co-hosts of this new podcast series.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be starting this podcast with you, bro. And
Yeah.
for those of you who are listening, we are a pair of identical twin brothers living miles apart in Southern California. And we both just thought that it would be a good idea to create a podcast about movies because we just enjoy talking about movies.
Yeah, that's right, bro. Movies have been such a big part of our childhood, and Andrew, I know you and I reminisce about this quite often. When we were younger, we'd always go to Blockbuster every Friday night after mom got home from work, and it was just something that I remember really looking forward to every week and going into the weekend. It was such a big part of our lives.
I agree, and I'm glad that you remember that to this day, Alex, because that was my childhood too. And I know when Blockbuster was still around, that was the place that I
Yeah,
going to every weekend. I don't know if you remember this, but you and I would go
straight to
immediately
the horror
to the
section.
horror movie section.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know to this day we both like horror movies, so I'm sure a lot of the movies that we'll talk about will be horror movies. I think I'm glad that I'm just going to be sharing this space with you where we can actually talk about movies and hopefully get some listeners who love movies just as much as us.
Absolutely. I'm very excited to start this podcast with you, bro.
Now, Alex, do you want to explain why we're calling it the Double Take Podcast for anyone who's wondering?
Sure thing. So, we're calling this the Double Take podcast for two reasons. The first one's obvious. We're both identical twins, and we're used to people giving us a quote unquote double take and asking us if we're twins.
The second reason is that because in each episode we're going to be talking about a movie, we won't just be talking about the movie itself, but in each episode we're going to be unpacking perhaps the social commentary that's underneath all of that, commentary about the world, humanity, and just life in general. We're calling it the Double Take podcast because our unpacking our open dialogue about the movie and discussing its social commentary about the world, that's our double take on the movie.
We're going to be focusing on movies that have a strong social commentary element. And that's not to say that we're not going to pick any pop culture movie. We do acknowledge that there are plenty of movies out there in the pop culture sector that have a lot of social commentary. And in addition to that, we want to also pick movies that were generally well received both critically and by the audience, because if it's well received by people, we think that it warrants some sort of discussion. We think that it highlights some sort of conversation that is being had among the audience members.
Right, right. And I'm also all about using sources to back up our movie choices. So I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, Hollywood Reporter, and all those other sources will be our best friends. I believe our goal is to try to drop an episode at least twice a month. So
Yeah.
that's about two episodes a month. But I
Yeah.
know that that could change.
Yeah, if we've piqued your interest, listeners, please feel free to subscribe to our channel on YouTube or follow us on Instagram. You can find all this information in the show notes. Our Instagram username is all lower cases, no spaces, double take podcast underscore one. All right, listeners, well, that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.